Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Well, as has been observed, the colonial administration, alongside its benefactors and agents, continue to engage in a propaganda battle aimed at skewing both media portrayal and international perception concerning the conditions on the ground amidst the ongoing conflict. It is one thing for La Republique to propagate something to the international community, but it is another for Ambazonians to participate in that propaganda. Because participating in anything that is influenced by the colonial administration and all its proxies constitutes themselves as a military target, as any participation of that kind is promoting the agenda for which La Republique creates such events for. Of the Nigerian actor Sylvester Madu was caught in the web of La Republique and its proxies, propaganda, and media deception. Yet again, we get to see La Republique spin same kind of web. Who was caught in this web this time? Well, we'll get to find out in the full briefings of Undaunted tonight, coming right up after the prime headlines.
Here are the prime headlines for tonight. Tonight, we'll start with a report of Bamenda. We're going to look at a day after Monday's lockdown. Also tonight, 14-year-old decries rape in Balionga. Ambazonians suffer prolonged blackouts as ENIO stops fieldwork due to the ongoing war. Tonight, the influx of southern Cameroon refugees into Nigeria has escalated due to the war in Ambazonia. And on the foreign scene, with 7 weeks until lower caucus, Republican primary stakes sharpens. We're going to see more on that. Now let's get the news in full details. Well, it is Tuesday, November 28th, in Bamenda, a day after the traditional Monday lockdown, and its activities were at full gear, a phase different from what was obtained yesterday. As compared to yesterday, Monday was all economic and institutional activities. They were all at a halt. Today, we have diverse activities going on. The Ambazonians are indeed not giving in to the pressure of La Republic de Cameroon of any kind. Now, despite the oppressive measures of the colonial administrators to kill Monday lockdown, well, the status quo remains. Someone who was opportune to see the streets in Ambazonia yesterday and sees them again today will ask where were all of the people yesterday? Well, a concluding answer is that there is no turning in the fight to free from La Republic to Cameroon. Well, Amazonians are very objective and resolute in their engagements. Now, this is where we will begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. How are you doing, sir?
Splendid, Onyi. Good evening, Ambazonians. Well, life is back to normalcy in Bamenda today, Tuesday, November 28, 2023, after ghosted yesterday with no economic activities as the entire Ambazonia observed the traditional Monday Ghost Downs. The Monday Ghost Downs was instituted by the Ambazonian interim government as a civil disobedience to La Republique's administration. Now, a walk around the city of Bamenda today shows bravery on the part of the people of Amazonia who have accepted the Monday Ghost Downs wholeheartedly. Now, commercial activities are very much obvious today, as well as all businesses being open today. Cab drivers are out in full gear, transporting passengers from one nation to the other. And this was certainly not the situation yesterday where there was a Monday Ghost Out. The hospital roundabout also is very busy today, with all the shops open and their owners hoping for better sales as today marks the start of the week. At the heart of the town of Bamenda, Commercial Avenue, commercial cab drivers and bike riders are on the transportation routine as every other working weekday. It seems like everyone is out of the home to replenish their homes with what they consumed over the long weekend.
Well, Air starts on Tuesday as a result of the ongoing war, and this has caused Mondays to be declared as ghost. Now, this was done to frustrate La Republic administration in Ambazonia. Before the war, it wasn't the case, as Monday was the first active day of the week. The people of Ambazonia are not worried about sacrifice and a day with all the gains that can be made from it, just to ensure that they make a statement with the ghost down.
And on to the next report for today. Things certainly are not the same in Amazonia as was the case before the present war of decolonization and total independence. The changes are evident in the fact that powers indeed have swapped hands with from La Republic to the peoples of Amazonia. La Republic run institutions in Amazonia are barely functioning. The electricity supply company, with the acronym ENEO, is failing in responsibility in greater parts of Amazonia. They are unable to do repairs and installations in a cross section of the Republic of Amazonia. The challenge is there is insecurity. The routine deployed colonial forces are unable to protect the ANIO workers to carry out their work. It can only be so for them because the security of the land is in the hands of the Ambazonian Restoration Forces and not La Republique terrorizing forces or any institutions from them that doesn't align with the laws of Ambazonia, and so they certainly feel unsecured without having their people in Ambazonia's territory. Now we wonder, why can't the colonial forces openly confess that they are not really useful in Ambazonia when security is concerned?
It's been weeks now and counting since the transformer electrifying the Nkwim area of the city of Bamenda got bad. The population is tired of the blackout with the negative effects on businesses. Enio has decided to maintain sealed leaves as far as light is concerned. And that is very bad for the people. Business owners whose businesses depend on electricity have cried out at last with an epileptic power supply. Many neighborhoods in Bamenda in general and in Bamenda in particular have for months now been without electricity. After the transformer supplying these localities got bad, the electricity supply company NEO has been unable to replace them.
Now, business owners of Nkwane have cried out that they are at a tight corner as their activities depend on electrical energy. According to a complainant, a businessman, he says one of the consequences of the present war is as a result of this. Now, NEO says their workers have been a target to the Ambazonian restoration forces, who do not want them to operate. Before the war, things were not the way it is as it now, and damaged transformers were immediately replaced. The blackout is greatly affecting this particular complainant's business, he says.
Well, another resident of my 7 Marken says that they have been in darkness for 3 months now and counting. According to him, he says in his words, says my neighborhood has been without electricity now for 3 months, and we are not sure to have it restored in the near future. But if this is the price we have to pay for peace and freedom to come, then it's okay. All attempts to get in touch with an Eneo worker for their side of the story proved abortive.
Well, the comptroller of the Taraba State Command of the Nigerian Immigration Services, NIS, Halid Usman Kwa, has asserted that the upsurge in the number of refugees in Taraba State is a direct consequence of the ongoing crisis in Ambazonia fighting for independence from neighboring French Cameroon, and the UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, expects further arrivals as refugees informs that more people fleeing from the genocidal 7-year ongoing armed conflict are still on the way trying to reach Nigeria.
The war in Ambazonia has caused so much traumatic experiences for her people. The people seek succor in neighboring countries like Nigeria and Ghana as refugees. Now, this report goes that during a meeting with the Reverend Father Anthony Bachere, the founder of the Foundation for Peaceful and Conflict Management, highlighted the social challenges arising from the presence of these refugees in host communities. Now, according to him, the influx of refugees in Taraba is due to the Ambazonian crisis in um, in southern Cameroon, specifically in Sadawa, Tako, and Kuni. The presence of these refugees has reportedly led to social challenges in their host communities. But then the question is, what else would they do? They wouldn't stay back in southern Cameroon to be killed by La Republic Cameroon military.
Now, expressing the commitment of the Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, to address the complex issue surrounding migration and the well-being of displaced populations in Taraba State, Kwa emphasized the necessity for collaboration with the Foundation for Peace, Hope, and Conflict Management. The controller shed light on the intricate nature of migration, citing factors such as economic prosperity, safety, conflicts, and natural disasters as contributors.
While calling for a robust partnership between the NIS and the government, Battery emphasized the need to address the multifaceted challenges faced by migrants. The armed conflicts that has been going on now for over 7 years and has led to over 50,000 loss of life, burned over 600 homes and villages, displaced a million southern Cameroonians. At this point, we must say those that are on record. Remember that times without number, we've reported that there are some who are unaccounted for due to this present war. Well, Ambazonians as refugees with hundreds of thousands missing, as it were, thousands in jail, and as we would say, this has been, or this is, the world's most neglected conflict. The UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, expects further arrivals as refugees since the world is saying nothing, and the UN is making no effort in mediating or standing as a mediator to ensure that this war comes to an end.
Now, moving on to our genocido library, we're looking back on the 14-year-old who was raped While in an appeal to diplomatic authorities in Yaoundé and beyond, citizens of Balinyonga have appealed to the world to help end the abuses being inflicted by the French Cameroon colonial soldiers on the people of the country. In a release detailing the abuses, the chairman of the county, Mr. Ng, enumerated the incidents of abuses ranging from rape to executions. Girls as young as 14 are carried forcefully by the gun-wielding French Cameroonian terrorizing soldiers into the bushes and their makeshift military camp at a nearby abandoned school. For what exactly? To perpetrate violence and rape on the young and neighbors. The communique detailed report desperate cries for help by the young women as the military engages in these abuses. Some who refuse or challenge these arrogant terrorizing soldiers were shot and dumped, such as the case of Adama, a young girl who was kidnapped in her sleep by the soldiers and after they had actually raped her, was shot and dumped by the roadside in a neighborhood in Bamenda. And of course, this still continues even today.
It's not the first time. It's been going on ever since the war started. It's been going on even before Ambazonians cried out. Well, this torture is what most young girls and women in not just Baliyanga, but in Bamenda, in Tumba, in every other locality you can think of. However, it appeared to be of a wider and more alarming scale this time around. Now, the unusually heavy presence of the Cameroon military in Baliyanga, which was estimated to be in the thousands, stalled all day activities in Baliyanga as the population is living in complete fear and panic about going on with their daily regular activities. Mothers can't leave their girl children or their girl child to do what they are supposed to do because of fear of rape. Well, we continue to demand that the Cameroonian government should withdraw all its military forces, their presence from all areas of Ambazonia, because they are causing tremendous pain. They are causing havoc on the lives of these young girls. And we wonder when the UN and the international community will come to the aid of mothers and the young girls who are completely and who are on a regular rate.
Well, moving on, a potential flashpoint looms in southern Amazonia. As former Nigerian footballer stars Okocha and Daniel Amokachi, amongst other ex-Super Eagle stars, have been on the receiving ends of threats from the Ambazonian Restoration Forces. This development follows their acceptance of an invitation by Samuel Eto'o, the president of Colonial Football Federation, FECAFOOT, to partake in a ceremonial football match set to be held in Victoria City, southern Cameroon on November 30th, 2023. Now, a stark warning has been articulated by Gabonese, the spokesperson for the Amazonian Restoration Forces, delineating the repercussions of neglecting others from Amazonia's authority. Another message by Gabonese elucidates their stance.
In a bold declaration, the restoration forces of the Ambazonian interim government have issued a stark warning to distinguished Nigerian football personalities such as the former national team captain Austin J.J. Okocha and Daniel Omokachi. This alarming threat is in direct response to an invitation from Samuel Eto'o, currently serving as the president of FECAFOOT, regarded by them as the football association of the colonial French Cameroon government. The severity of this warning was further emphasized through an audio message from the spokesperson of the Ambazonian Restoration Forces, who declared their anticipations, the repercussions for disregarding the commands of the Ambazonian authorities. Now let's listen to Gabonese audio.
Good day, good day, good day, friends fellow Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. Today, na November the 27th, Monday, 2023. This one now na ARF, Ambazonian Restoration Forces spokesperson and Ambazonian National Self-Defense Council at the talk for una live for home front. Fellow Ambazonians, at the camp today this morning. I want to salute for all our brave free marshals, generals, commanders, colonels, and foot soldiers who will fight hard for defending Ambazon. House of French Cameroon, barbaric and terrorist soldiers will be sent by Bartholomew, the terrorist, sponsored by France, supported by some other criminal Western nations. Fellow Ambazonians, at the camp this morning, where we get this message for Center for Ambazonianism inside Victoria, where they call them say Limbe by different administrators, where the interim government will be led by Dr. Sawe Sako Ekome. We send message for all Wuna for inside Victoria, where they call them say Limbe, say make una be on high alert. I will declare Wednesday and Thursday for total lockdown, shut down inside Victoria in particular, where it means say no motor need the cross Mutengene enter Victoria. Victoria it be total shut down for that 2 days. I repeat, Wednesday and Thursday, whether the 29th and the 30th of November 2023. Make una be on high alert and make una stay indoors, una stay safe. No come out. You go find yourself for explosive or for bullet. Now you know, we don't tell our civilians. Say Saudi Cameroons is there at war. Nobody you can organize a gala match on the blood of our people. Which war is still go on? This war will fight na guerrilla tactic and a guerrilla warfare. We appear anytime, disappear anytime. Don't be a victim. Stay in your house and stay safe. And any person who will take note for you, say don't come out for gala match, for go celebrate with terrorism and their accomplices and their agents. If we not finish that match, you whole road for the go Yaoundé, because we go hunt you down. This war na do or die affair. Any man want stay alive for see the sweet Ambazonian freedom in the future. Follow the rules and stay safe. Don't try it. The days ahead are deadly. No mercy. When I'm not to be tell una, make una stay for una houses. Victoria in particular, Limbe, it be shut down completely for Wednesday 29 and Thursday the 30th November 2023. Take special note. All kind of people, them businessmen, taxi men, we not shut down our businesses for that 2 days. We're not there for wealthy criminals like a Tofis and his agent like JJ Okocha or Mokache. So those criminals, when they never ever Sunday rally themselves for 10 international community, say the genocide in the southern Cameroons. So we know I permit them. When I remember what you happened for Bamenda, where this criminal Shinarambo, where come from Nigeria, you want to act film, take French Cameroon uniform, well the tell say shake no day, but we don't tell say shake a day. You know follow the rules, you follow the cops to the grave. This time you survive now for lucky. We tell all Ambazonians, make una stay at home, una stay safe. Don't be a victim. Shall live the struggle. May God bless Ambazonia.
Oh, well, the underlying question remains, why has La République du Cameroon chosen to bypass all the stadiums east of the Mongo River and favor hosting events in the southern Cameroon's war-ridden zone? The implication appears to be a deliberate assertion of control over an area they have occupied for more than 6 decades without rightful claim. While proceeding with this event, La République du Cameroon seemingly intends to portray a sense of control over the region's escalating tensions, suggesting it is an internal conflict that is under management, whereas evidence suggests otherwise. The interim government of Ambazonia opposes the tournament, labeling it a travesty and a mockery of the struggles faced by the people of Ambazonia. They have stressed that such participation by international stars like Okocha and Okocha would put them at serious risk.
Well, adding to the region's instability, an incident involving renowned Nigerian actor Sylvester Madu on the 25th of November encapsulates the danger Madu narrowly escaped with his life following an attack by unidentified gunmen at a relocation gathering in Bamenda, which was attributed to his invitation by a French Cameroon's film production company. The attack led to chaos and underscored the volatility of the area. Now, the message from the interim government is unequivocal. There is a war in Amazonia. In the light of this, they have announced a comprehensive lockdown in Victoria City and the entire Faku County on the day of the tournament. This lockdown comes with a severe edict. All residents must remain indoors, with the threats of death looming for those who disobey. This decree serves as a grave reminder of the persistent danger and a warning to those who might inadvertently be seen as supporters of what is viewed as colonial propaganda.
Well, the interim government has expressed profound reservations regarding both timing and the venue for the tournament, challenging Samuel Eto'o's judgment in choosing to hold the event in Victoria, an area beset by conflict for more than 7 years now. The government articulates valid concerns over the possibility of the situation being exploited and strongly encourages Nigerian football celebrities to re-evaluate their participation in order to avert any inadvertent escalation of violence. This ongoing dispute serves to further complicate the already tense relationship between the Republic of Cameroon and the leadership of Ambazonia. Well, in the studios, we'll be having our news director join us on this particular segment of Undaunted tonight as he analyzes and gives us in-depth insight to this particular story for tonight. Good evening, Mr. Ta.
Good evening, Star. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, yesterday we brought a report similar to the one we just gave now about Sylvester Madu, popularly known as Shina Rambo. And today, these ex-Super Eagles stars from Nigeria. Now I wonder, is there a possibility that these folks are oblivious of the ongoing war in Amazonia, that La Republique has managed somehow to convince the world that there is normalcy? Or did they really not mind or care and risk their lives coming for the colonial La Republique's event in the war-torn Amazonia?
Um, Thank you for that question. I think what is currently happening right now um, is about a colonial administration that is adamant to human life. It has no sympathy, and that is simply explains the attitude of tyrannic governments. Cameroon, like we said yesterday, is merely trying to show dominance over a territory they would have conquered in 1961. Remember, like the president was explaining, and that's a history that our generation is already well informed about. We were supposed to come into a union of two states of equal status. Cameroon denied to sign the document that would have authenticated that civil arrangement, but instead decided to invade our national territory. And that is the root cause of the war we're fighting today. So we've been fighting a war that Biya himself declared against us on the 30th of November 2017, simply defending our territorial boundaries. Cameroon is avoiding international or foreign intervention. Cameroon is escaping from any form of a negotiation. And so either the Cameroonian government or their proxies are powered by Yaoundé or the cabal in Yaoundé to organize festivities. You have music festivals trying to act movies or act movies that defy our very existence as a people. Like the movie, unfortunately, Sylvester Madu will find himself participating in a politically customized movie without even knowing. We were aware that he's just an actor coming to play his role. But the orchestrators or the masterminds behind these activities actually are not just actors. They have been empowered by evil politicians in Yaoundé. So it's a game. It's a way of telling the internet is that they're sending signals to the international community, telling the international community, hey, we can do festivals in Southern Cameroons. We can organize football tournaments in Southern Cameroons. We can act movies in Southern Cameroons. That is a movie promoting the green, red, yellow flag. So this is an internal matter. It's just an internal political uprising. We have control and we are ready to handle it. And we understand that. And we're not going to let that happen. So that is why you would have Gabonese, who is the spokesperson for the Ambazonian Restoration Forces at the home front, actually sending, issuing a stark warnings to FECAFOOT, including the Anglophones who are part of FECAFOOT, to Samuel Eto'o, who was warned not to come to Bamenda, but he has been smuggling himself or sneaking into Victoria from time to time with a military convoy. And they are warning Nigerian superstars. JJ Okocha is a player that I personally loved. He is a player that has made history for Africa as a whole. And just for those who are thinking that this might be a fight against Eto'o, best African player that I love in the world when it comes to soccer is Samuel Eto'o. I particularly don't love any African player more than Samuel Eto'o. That means based on his talent. But when it comes to his political positioning and the fact of his country, I am at variance with him. You must understand that Eto'o particularly is against the independence of Ambazonia. And he has shown that a couple of times, many different ways. We've seen Eto'o despising that. So coming to the occasion that's going to take place, or that Eto'o is organizing, Eto'o's FECAFOOT is organizing in Ambazonia, that is an illegal activity. That is an intrusion into a sovereign territory where you're coming to raise high a flag that we consider a flag and a symbol of betrayal. Thank you very much.
That from
Andy,
your observation,
Onye,
Mr.
can you take your question all over again? You started and the volume
Yes,
went out.
please. Yes, please. I was trying to interject where you made a very strong statement, but let me just take you back a bit. You just said here that you observed that Mr. Samuel Eto'o is against the Ambazonian independence struggle. Why would he be against the struggle? Why do you think he is against the struggle? Why do you think he is ignoring the fact that, just like we've read this evening, young girls are raped, mothers are raped? Why would someone who has seen a global life, someone who has stored the world around, why do you think someone can ignore the kind of pain, the kind of anger, the kind of trauma, the tears that the Amazonian people are going through?
Um, I'll start by telling you that Samuel Eto'o um, has shown a great sense of excellence when it comes to the pitch of soccer, of football. But when it comes to honesty, I would say that he is a terribly dishonest youth that even French Cameroonians should not be proud of him. Samuel Eto'o is first of all not honest with his nation, the French Republic of Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, because you have Samuel Eto'o, after having traveled globally, seeing his own young colleague like George Weah becoming a president in Liberia, Samuel Eto'o endorsing an octogenarian, a man who has lost consciousness, like President Biya for elections, only tells you the kind of person that he is. He is loved mostly by those who believe that he he um he loves their country. He has been an excellent player, but he is wanting change. There cannot be effective change in any organization or system or nation with a mundane mentality like that of Samuel Eto'o. Samuel Eto'o's first advocacy for change should have been with him advocating for change in the leadership of a country that whose economy has been raped by a terrorist or a dictator that has been in power for 4 decades. It is unheard of. So Eto is not a friend to democracy. There are even questions as to how he got himself at the helm of FECAFOOT. But we leave that for French Cameroonians to take care of. Our focus is in the genocide that President Biya has declared in Ambazonia. Samuel Eto'o is inadvertently in support of this genocide, because if he would support Biya to be president in his country, whereas a cross section of the youths are in contravention with that idea, only tells you that he supports foolishness. He supports the invasion of Eto has never ever, he purportedly positions himself as a philanthropist. Etofis has never ever provided aid to the Ambazonian refugees in Nigeria. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of refugees. You just reported earlier on that the influx into Nigeria is escalating because of the war in Amazonia. And even the UNHCR is reporting it. Globally, Samuel Eto'o would give subvention to victims of Boko northern part of French Cameroon. And I tell people the so-called thing that you call Boko Haram in northern Cameroon is Bia's propaganda to beg money in the diaspora. Bia begs for military support to come and uh, subjugate, to come and fight against the people in Amazonia. So Etofis asking me why I think Eto will not support Ambazonia's quest for freedom is partly because French Cameroonians have been taught to believe that we are one nation. So even the education or re-education that we're giving to them, they are not taking it into consideration. Number two is because, according to them, they call us les Baminda, les Francophones, les Anglophones or Anglophones. According to them, Ambazonia or Southern Cameroons is their priceless possession. It's something for them to use to do whatever thing they want to do with it. That is typically unfortunate. So you would have them, civilians or people like Cabral Libi or superstars in French Cameroon, they will either stay quiet and or advise their government to use military aggression to take over our land. And if you permit me, if you do not have any question else for me, if you permit me, I'd like to conclude on this note. Do you have any question for me in this regard?
Mr. Paddy, owing to the fact that we still have a couple more celebrities around the world, especially since we've gotten 2 cases from Nigeria accepting these invitations from La Republique and its proxies to for whatever events in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. It goes a long way to show that they probably are not aware or are aware but don't understand the gravity of the war on ground, and also the fact that it has political intricacies, like the fact that the arrival there gets to portray the notion that La République is in charge of the quote conflict going on in both Cameroons. Like, the question now is, how do you think the interim government can further state its stance to, especially its neighboring countries like Nigeria, about their involvement with La République in Ambazonia, seeing most of these popular figures and stars do not exactly understand the international and political intricacies?
The first thing I would like to tell you straightforwardly, Mr. Smart, that the peoples of Ambazonia will not take responsibility for anybody's ignorance when it comes to the Ambazonian freedom movement. Any celebrity, superstar, or socialite who is not a citizen of any of the Cameroons, who claims to be ignorant, we will definitely shift the blame to them. And I want to use the opportunity to thank you, Undaunted, for close to 2 years today. You have been informing the world with a accuracy, exactitude of what is happening in Ambazonia. That they choose to despise it is their fault. It's their fault. And partly we think that Cameroon is also playing a fast one on the media. And since Rene Sadi was appointed or took over from Issa Churuma, who is now of late, he is a technician who understood the media game, because our generation took them unawares in 2016 on the media, informing the world of the genocide that is going on. I want to use this to say that the genocide in Amazonia did not start in 2016. When Frundi won the election in 1992, I was less than 10 years old. And in the primary school, you could actually see how that Cameroon military would spray bullets in a primary school. I was in in the Catholic primary school in Small Mancon at the time. For the first time in my life, imagine a kid of my age, I could actually see the intestines of a human being that was shot simply because people were protesting against elections that Mr. Biya rigged. So, and after that, there was no media. The entire media was controlled by CRTV, and so many hundreds of people were slaughtered. When Aijo invaded the national territory of Amazonia in 1961, a lot of our people were slaughtered and nobody knew about it. It was disappeared. In 2008, Biya killed a lot of his own people and our people because of a national protest against fuel prices that were escalating. In 2016, fortunately, almost everybody has now become a journalist. Thank God to Mark Zuckerberg and the evolution that is taking place in the social media. Multimedia has revolutionized the media space in such a way that it is difficult for criminal institutions to effectively conceal the truth. I think that Cameroon has understood these dynamics, and they have stepped up their game, because they will now understand or use or take advantage of what is called the Facebook community. They are bribing those, because Facebook community and their laws and principles is managed based on regions of the world. Ambazonia, the Gulf of Guinea, is managed by someone in Central Africa, in Congo there. And the Cameroon government were well informed that is bribing this individual to make sure that whatever we do on our social media space is not communicated abroad, or there are restrictions. They restrict images that you have, that same images streamed by CNN, Wayon, and every other BBC on their platforms, and nothing is going to happen. So there is a spine also on mainstream media not to communicate. For instance, mainstream media continues to call us separatists. Separation or cessation is not popular in today's world order. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that we are not separatists or cessationists like they would want to say it, but we are restorationists, restoring an independence that has been stolen. That is the debate Cameroon avoids. A lot of people have chosen not to educate themselves, but everybody should have known that the influx of refugees in Nigeria, Okocha should be aware that the influx of refugees into Nigeria should give him an information that all is not well in the land. The story of Sylvester Madu has been reported by the Nigerian press. Can Okocha and Stephen Kechi and the Nigerian Football Federation and the Nigerian government take advantage of this to caution these players of Nigeria to stay clear of Ambazonia? That will be left for them. But what I want to say in conclusion is this: any individual who is coming to organize any illicit activity in Ambazonia is a potential military target. And not only the restoration forces will gun you down, Cameroon will also gun you down. And you can easily become a victim of a crossover, of of a crossfire, which is an apology.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Paddy. That'll be about it with you here in Undaunted tonight. Thank you so much for your time here. And on the African scene, in North Africa, shots were fired over the Nile in Khartoum, as atrocities were also reported in Darfur. While the Sudanese army and paramilitary exchanged shells on Monday from opposite banks of the Nile in the capital Khartoum, residents reported. In the 7th month of this war, which atrocities have been denounced by NGOs. Now, according to exchange artillery fire and rockets, they told reporters the army from Umdurman on the west bank and the rapid support forces from Khartoum north on the east bank exchanged artillery fire and rockets. This was a witness reporting this. Now, accounts is corroborated by other residents, including local activists who claim that dozens of civilians have been killed in the bombardment in recent weeks.
On payroll levy, a Kenyan court has ruled Tuesday that a salary levy introduced by President William Ruto in June was illegal, dealing a major blow to the government's aim of bolstering the state's coffers. A law allowing a 1.5% levy on the salaries of all Kenyan taxpayers, including employers, was passed in June to finance a low-cost housing program. Three judges of the Nairobi High Court ruled that the measure was not part of a complete legal framework and that the exclusion of informal workers was discriminatory and irrational.
This distinction must be justified as rationally related to a legitimate government purpose. This requirement prevents arbitrariness, which undermines the rule of law, and if distinctions are to be made, they must be a rational basis for them. We have looked at the responses by the respondents. Their key submission is that the national government enjoys the prerogative and latitude to impose taxes as a means of achieving the objective of realizing the right to housing. They did not answer why the tax falls upon employed formal workers as opposed to other taxpayers or non-taxpayers. In Okello and another versus National Assembly and others, Odunga J stated that taxes need not look the same and selective taxes may be applied to different actors for different reasons, such as to address distribution, and the tax need not be similar to another for it to be rational and discrimination. We add that for any legislation to pass the rule of law, it must have a rational connection to a legitimate government purpose. Otherwise, the tax legislation would be arbitrary and unconstitutional. It's therefore the duty of the state to provide a rational explanation for the manner in which the tax is involved. In absence of a rational explanation for the manner in which the housing levy was enacted, we can only conclude that the respondents took the easy path of least resistance, as taxing employees. Informal employment is easier. It is also the respondent's constitutional responsibility to create a broad, efficient, fair tax system that complies with Article 201(b)(1) of the Constitution, and the taxes levied against persons in formal employment to the exclusion of all other than formal earners to support a national policy without a clear justification is discriminatory, irrational, and arbitrary in violation of 27(201)(b)(1) of the Constitution, and therefore unconstitutional for those reasons.
And on South Africa, in South Africa as well, sad reports has reached that 11 died in platinum mine accident. 11 people died in an accident at a South African platinum mine just on Monday when the lift fell as it was taking workers at the end of their day. The company that owns the mine, Impala Platinum, said on Tuesday. Now, 86 employees precisely were standing in the lift. 11 lost their lives and all the others were transferred to hospitals. Now, this is the company's spokesperson saying, adding that some of them were seriously injured. And to look into this mine accident, last year it was about 49 accidents in South Africa's mining company. And this year it has shot up all the way to 52. We cannot help but wonder what the government is doing about their state's mining security.
And moving on to West Africa, Nigeria's ruling junta has signed a decree revoking a controversial 2015 law that was brought in to slow the smuggling of migrants traveling from African countries through a key migration route in the country en route to Europe, according to a government circular issued on Monday. It said that the convictions pronounced pursuant to said law and their effects shall be cancelled. Niger's junta leader, General Abdulrahman Tichani, said in a November 25th decree, a copy of which was seen on Monday by journalists. All those convicted under the law would be considered for release by the Ministry of Justice. Ibrahim Jean Etienne, the Secretary General of the Justice Ministry, said this through a circular.
Former Mauritanian President Aziz denies charges of illicit enrichment. The former president, Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, on Monday firmly denied in court all allegations he faces of abusing his power and amassing a huge fortune. Aziz has ruled the pivotal country between North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa since 2018 and 2019. Or fell into disgrace under successor and current President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, with the prosecution having demanded a 20-year sentence. The 66-year-old former leader embarked on an hours-long monologue in court. While all of these accusations are false, unjust, and part of a warped plot against him, he told a parked criminal court in Nouakchott. He says he's accused of corruption, but then where are his accusers and the corrupter? Well, he says, where's the proof of the corruption, he asked. Well, we can just only bank on his words, but then we're yet to get the proceedings from this court.
Meanwhile, in another development, the Togolese government, led by President Faure Gnassingbe, announced on Monday its plans to hold legislative and regional elections no later than the end of the first quarter of 2024. This decision comes after the president's commitment outlined in his New Year's address for 2022 that elections would take place in December 2023. Despite opposition claims contesting the electoral register integrity, The International Organization of the La Francophone validated the final electoral register in mid-November. With over 4.2 million registered voters, the OIF deemed it sufficiently reliable to allow for the holding of the upcoming regional and legislative elections on the conditions of trust.
Now in Sierra Leone, the attack of Sunday that we brought to you yesterday, the aftermath officials of the Sierra Leone government have disclosed that nearly 2,000 inmates escaped during Sunday's attack on a military barrack, a prison, and other locations in the country. Now, the acting director general of the Sierra Leone Correctional Service, Colonel Sheikh Suleiman Masaku, said the attack lasted 2 hours, according to reports from the prison officials. About 1,890 inmates escaped from the Padeba Road Central Prison after the attackers broke in. The government blamed renegade soldiers that it said had been repelled.
Meanwhile, in East Africa, Mozambique President Filipe Nyusi is slated to formally present the ambitious energy plan to the international community on December 2nd during the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai. The plan, approved by Mozambique's Council of Ministers on the 21st of November, outlines crucial initiatives set to uphold between 2023 and 2030.
Well, from reports, key components of the plan includes a substantial increase of 2,000 megawatts in hydropower capacity achieved through upgrades to existing facilities and the completion of the Mpanda Nkua hydropower project. The world seems to be moving to a path of cleaner and environmentally friendly energy due to the catastrophic effect of climate change. Isn't that impressive, Onyi?
Very, very impressive. Meanwhile, let's get to the news across the globe. Meanwhile, news across the globe, the Republicans' primary campaign is craning towards its final act. With 7 weeks to go until the lower caucuses and former President Donald Trump, the overwhelming favorite to claim his third consecutive GOP presidential nomination and a rematch with the politically hot President Joe Biden. After months on the campaign trail, Trump's remaining rivals are still more focused on running each other off the road than taking on the former president, who, despite facing 91 criminal counts across 4 indictments, is comfortable enough in his perch that he is waiting until the final weeks and days before the caucuses for a planned campaign blitz. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis appears to have less of a margin for error and is pouring resources into the state. The former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is playing there, but her truer test could come in New York, a measure where independents can vote in the primary and the electorate is, on balance, less conservative.
Well, aside from BRICS, here are 3 reasons countries around the world want to break up with the dollar. Now, news and BRICS, the first would be the US dollar, that has been the world's reserve currency for decades. Its dominance is now fading. And the second would be sanctions against Russia has spurred other countries into considering backup currencies for trade. And thirdly, US monetary policies, US dollar and structural global oil trade also contribute.
Well, meanwhile, still on Israel vessel, Yemeni armed forces linked to the Houthis have claimed responsibility for a drone strike that set an Israeli container on fire. The ship, owned by the Israeli shipping company Zim, had been in the Indian Ocean when it came under attack. The Sri Lanka Navy, along with the Indian Coast Guard, ships are trying to contain the fire with additional firefighting resources due to arrive.
Now, on Israel-Hamas war, Hamas said the extension was under the same conditions as Israel-Hamas truce. Gaza extended its truce 2 days more. It says extension was under the same conditions, which were for 50 Israeli hostages to be released in exchange for 150 Palestinian prisoners. Israel has yet to comment, but it had offered a day's pause in the fighting for every 10 Israeli hostages freed. It came as 11 hostages were released in the final exchange under the original deal that checked on Friday. Israeli officials said 3-year-old twins and their mother were among them, along with 6 children and her mother.
Meanwhile, Ukraine gives Russia a taste of winter payback after drone blitz. Russia and Ukraine have exchanged the first round of an expected two-way winter drone campaign, with Kyiv launching a series of strikes against several regions, including Moscow, one day after a record-breaking barrage of unmanned aerial vehicles against Kyiv. Russia's defense ministry said on Sunday that 24 drones were shot down over the country in the previous 24 hours, as well as more than 50 UAVs over the Russian-accompanied Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Kharkiv regions in eastern Ukraine. The ministry said also it had intercepted 2 S-200 anti-aircraft missiles, which both sides have repurposed to fire at ground targets over the Sea of Azov.
Pakistan hosts multinational counter-terror exercise, says Fajr al-Sharavi. The National Counter-Terrorism Center in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, PABIS, hosted a 2-week-long multinational joint counter-terrorism exercise, Fajr al-Sharavi, the military said in a statement. Now, according to Inter-Services Public Relation ISPR, contingents of special forces from the brotherly countries participated in the exercise. Fajr al-Sharavi is a multinational joint exercise in the counter-terrorism domain among the special forces of Pakistan, Bahrain, Iraq, and Kuwait. The ISPR said that the exercise is aimed at nurturing joint employment and interoperability besides harnessing the historic military-to-military relations among the brotherly countries. Now, it said that the participants expressed zeal and enthusiasm throughout the event, highlighting the commitment of these brotherly nations to collaborative efforts in the fight against terrorism.
Well, sincerest apologies, I won't be bringing you sports reports tonight. And it's on that note that we'll draw the curtains. But before we go, let's give you the recap of our major stories.
We're brought to you on Undaunted tonight, the revisiting the Balingyonga rape, and Bamenda, a day after yesterday's Monday lockdown. Denizens in Bamenda also suffer blackouts as ENEO stops field work due to the ongoing war. And of course, we brought you the influx of Southern Cameroon refugees in Nigeria as Ambazonian War of Independence persists.
Well, on the African scene, we told you that shots fired over the Nile in Khartoum as atrocities reported in Darfur, while on the foreign scene, with just 7 weeks until Lower Caucasus Republican primary takes shape. Unfortunately, Undaunted bringing into the news on Joe Stories. On behalf of my co-anchor, Stay Smart and the Undaunted, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV Images. Good night and God bless you.